Testing 1 2. Alright, saw that exposure. Alright, sweet. So I just did a pretty brief and pretty intense, and I would say quite successful cut slash shred slash dieting phase, whatever you want to call it, right? However, before we get into it, I do want to just make sure I'm not giving out any false ideas to anyone who may have just been perusing YouTube and stumbled across this video having never observed a Joey D video before, right? Obviously I didn't get shredded in 3 weeks from like your typical 16, 17, 18, 20% body fat starting point, right? By all possible definitions or interpretations of the word, I was already shredded, right? So I didn't get shredded in 3 weeks. I just went from shredded to like just silly, insert ridiculous semi-humorous metaphor, shredded. Do you know what I mean? I just went from that lad's quite lean to where is he lean? Do you know what I mean? Where is he lean? Alright, so anyway, I just wanted to get that disclaimer out of the way, but let's just cut to it. I'll just show you the final form. So this video clip isn't the best because I didn't really film it with this video in mind. I just filmed it because I thought, fuck, I look pretty shredded. So yeah, I'm gonna slow it down and freeze frame it a couple of times. Let's just do it. Alright, so as you can see, I think quite shredded is a pretty fair description. Just going to freeze it here. To be honest, quite shredded might be a bit of classic British understatement. So, still carrying a tiny bit of fat on my legs. That's always the last to go, so I don't think I'll ever actually get lean enough to have like truly feathered quads. But I mean, I can probably live with that, to be honest, because I'm not a bodybuilder. So, upper body is as lean as I think I'd ever want it to be. I mean, it's actually kind of gross in a way. Sorry, I think, why did I even do this? Anyway, yeah, I think this is the most shredded I've ever been. However, I do think I've probably been like nearly this shredded, but with a bit more size before, so I don't really think this is the best I've looked by any means, but that's a whole subjective kind of worms that I'm not going to get into, at least not today. Alright, so I wanted to just go through a few FAQs or some of the most common topics that come up, whether that's in the comments of these videos or in my Instagram DMs or whatever it happens to be. Obviously, I mean in relation to like getting and being shredded. I don't just mean generally. I'm going to start talking about top 10 Greece travel guide. Anyway, so the first thing that comes up frequently is people asking or saying something along the lines of, don't you feel like shit all the time being that lean? And the answer to that question is twofold. The first part is like, you probably see a misrepresentation of how lean I actually stay. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of the time, if I step on my scales that apparently record your body fat, I don't know how accurate they are, probably not very, but if I step on them, most of the time it says I'm about like 13% body fat, right? So if it's even ballpark there, then you're not really in the territory where you do experience, like, you know, these negative effects of low body fat. Furthermore, you only really experience those, let's call them side effects, when you stay lean. I don't really stay lean, I just get lean, right? And take a lot of pictures. But even when I'm not like shredded, I'm still Instagram shredded. You know, I carry, my fat distribution happens to be like on my legs and my back, so that's great for taking Instagram photos, man. You know what I mean? And so, like, maybe everyone thinks that I'm leaner than I am, for sure, and they also think that I maintain it more than I do, right? So sorry if I've misled you there, like, it's like a confession video, man, my apology. So that's the first part. Like, I'm actually not, I don't stay as lean as people think, right? In fact, right now, we're a couple of weeks later from that last physique clip that you saw, and I am no longer that lean. I can categorically tell you that right now. So that's the first part. Now, the second part is like, no, I don't feel like shit. If I felt like shit, then I wouldn't do it, really, because I don't think anything is worth feeling like shit for. Now, obviously, there's context to that, because sometimes, like, training for something, I suppose you would count the discomfort of training and adaptation, like, feeling like shit. But anyway, that's a tangent. The key point is, right, people experience that, like, negative effects of staying very lean or of being in a calorie deficit for a long time. They exist, right? But they affect people differently, like, to different extents, right? And just because somebody else experiences them doesn't mean you will, or just because you do doesn't mean somebody else will, right? And I suppose I've been, like, lucky in a sense that if I have ever really experienced any, then it's been, like, very mild. The only thing I ever think of, right, this is gonna sound a bit weird, but, like, the only thing I can think of is, like, sometimes when I'm really lean, I just feel like maybe a little bit of lethargy, and that doesn't really affect me whatsoever. Not like proper lethargy, do you know what I mean? Not like bedridden and shit. It's just like if you're walking up a lot of stairs or a hill, and, like, I don't know if anyone can relate, but you're stepping, right, and you're moving, but you just feel like there's not that much power in your legs, right? It feels a bit like, say after you've done, like, a long workout and it's the end of a long day or something like that, and you feel like you can't really, like, tense your muscles that much. Sometimes my legs feel a bit like that. So sometimes I feel like my legs have just got no power in them, mate. But that's like rare and temporary, and only when I'm, like, really shredded and walking up a hill, which those things don't really coincide that frequently in my life, right? So that's the answer to that. If being shredded makes you feel like shit, just don't be shredded, man. There's no point anyway, like, do you know what I mean? Says the lad who's been fucking getting shredded for the last 10 years of his life. Alright, so the next thing I want to address is, have you got smaller / lost gains, whatever, they used to be bigger, however you want to phrase that, right? So the answer is, like, I don't know, maybe, probably. I feel like I've probably made most of my gains after about 8-9 years of training. After that, it's probably been a bit up and down. Maybe now it's down. I mean, it's not really a thing for me, to be honest. I don't keep an eye on it. Sometimes I do look back on photos and think, I was probably bigger like 4 years ago or something like that. But I don't sit there and let it get me down. Like, I'm not really that, do you know what I mean, big enough, like, at least for my personal preferences. So the answer is, like, probably, maybe. If you think that I lost size, then that might be probably right. But it's fine, innit? I'm not like a bodybuilder or anything, so I don't have to worry about it, man. So following from that, something people ask me a lot is about, like, TRT or gear, right? These are two different things, right? You know, you shouldn't really lump them into one question, but, like, obviously testosterone replacement therapy, like, I'm 31 now. I say that as if it's all, like, like, I would do TRT, like, to get me up to, you know, but in tiny amounts when I'm, like, maybe, like, 45 like 50. I don't know, like just I don't feel like anywhere near to that now. Right? And then the thing is, if I sit here at 31 and say, oh, I'll do that at 45, you can't really make decisions 15 years out, can you? Because chances are your mind might change. I'll see how I feel. The point is, like, I'm not against TRT. I am against doing gear, like, because that's way different, right? Because TRT is just like tiny amounts of test just to bump up your levels to like maybe levels that they would have been when you were younger. Although with TRT you keep those levels consistent, whereas like naturally you fluctuate a bit more. Anyway, whereas like obviously anabolic steroids are like fucking way off the chart when it's different. Like TRT still help your gains, but I would never do anything I'd never do any drug just to get more gains, like, or just to look more shredded or something like that. I feel like that's just unnecessary, mate. So yeah, I hope I addressed that. The final thing is you still cardio. So I guess like I've made a lot of videos about talking about like my cardio routine, or you know how much cardio I do and all that kind of thing. So like I guess if you watch those videos, then you can just skip this or end the video, whatever you want. But I think people see you and think like, oh, you must have to do loads of cardio. I still get people who like proper lift and are in like good nick, like messaging me and saying, oh, do you have to do loads of cardio to stay this lean? And I'm like, no, not really. Like if I do cardio, I mean, partly it's start with like choice, because I feel like your heart should get some exercise at some point. But like I'm lucky in that I probably have like a TDEE. My maintenance is high enough that it's not far off my appetite, so I don't really need to do like much to get it up there, so that I can, you know, at least maintain my level of leanness or etc etc. So the answer to that is just no, I don't. I mean, I will do. The amount of cardio I do varies a lot, right? Sometimes I'll go through phases of doing a lot, sometimes I'll do less, but resistance training is always the main focus, like that. Put it that way. Like I'm never doing like more than like, if I do an hour cardio, then I'll do 5 hours lifting. That's the ratio on maybe 4 hours. You know what I mean? So I think that's it for FAQs. I know this was just a chill video, really. It was low effort from me on it. Sorry. I just wanted to show you how shredded I was, because I feel like a cat dragging in the corpse of a sparrow, just asking people to be proud. So, see you later.
Jordy Lenny is my hero.